Okay, guys, I really wish I could be there in person to go over this material with you today. Unfortunately, I'm still kind of recovering from being sick, so this is going to have to cut it. At this time, you should have your notes in front of you. The sub should have passed these out to you. Your notes are 2 pages, and they are front and back, so please make sure you have both pages for these notes. You also want to make sure you have a pencil with you. That way, when we're going through, you can have enough time to write down your answer. Now remember, just like always, if you don't have enough time, please make sure that you pause this video and rewatch it. That way you have enough time to write down the appropriate responses for your notes. Now, in addition to answering the questions on your notes, you're also going to have to make sure that you're answering your questions on your Ed puzzle here. Remember, with your Ed puzzle, you want to just mark one answer as your answer to go ahead and turn in to submit to move on. Some of us were having problems with that when we completed our Ed puzzle last time, so just keep that in mind. Also keep in mind, please try to pay attention to the material the first time. You do have the ability to go back and rewatch the material. Just keep in mind that I can look and see how many times you needed to rewatch something before you could answer it appropriately. Just another reminder for that. Okay, so at this time, you should have two things in front of you. That would be your notes and your pencil. We'll go ahead and get started here. Okay, so we're talking about the middle colonies today. Now, with the middle colonies, we have 4 colonies that we're focused on. We have New York, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and Delaware. Now, the middle colonies are going to be known as the breadbasket colonies. Wheat is going to be a very essential crop to these colonies. Unlike the New England colonies, the soil is not going to be as rocky, so farming is going to be able to be successful in this region. So make sure that you jot down New York, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and Delaware for your middle colonies. Now, our colonists had many reasons for settling. Just like in New England, religious freedom is going to be one of the most essential ones. So during this time, the Church of England was being established, and many people living in England at the time felt persecuted. So because of that, they decided to come and find a new home in the New World, known as America. So religious freedom is your first reason. Another reason is that the land was really cheap. In England during this time, they were running out of land. The population was increasing. England was very busy and bustling. And because of that, it was difficult to have enough land for you and your family. Now, in America, you had the opposite. Land was cheap. There's land everywhere here. There are no cities really in America yet. So cheap land is going to be your second reason. Your third reason for the colonists coming is going to be for political reasons. Now, when I say political reasons, I'm really talking about people trying to get ahead and change the government. So these people were maybe unhappy with the king, and these people were looking to set up a new frame of government or a new form of government with these political reasons. Okay. Now, for the next one, we have climate. Now, when we talked about the New England colonies, we knew that the climate had very long, cold winters and very short, mild summers. Now, here in the middle colonies, the temperature is really just right. It's not too hot, it's not too cold. The winters aren't terribly long, and the summers are not very short, so it's really just the right temperature. Now, when we talk about the geography and the natural resources for the middle colonies, there's a couple things to keep in mind. They have very fertile soil, so it's not going to be rocky like it was in New England. This soil is going to be very, very good for growing crops and for farming. The second thing to keep in mind is that the rivers are navigable. That means they're not confusing, they're not winding, they're very easy to get around and navigate. And then the third thing you want to consider is that they are going to be working on farms more than anything else in the middle colonies here. Okay? When we talked about New England colonies, those colonies focused a little bit more on the harbor and the water and shipbuilding because they were so close to the ocean. Our middle colonies are going to be more like farmers, though. Now, the colonists were going to be small farmers. They are workers who did not own the land. And these are the people who usually came over and were known as tenant farmers. So the land didn't belong to them. They would own the land and work on the land and make profit from the land. And over time, they would hope to buy the land. but initially they did not own the land themselves. Okay, we called these people tenant farmers. Now, because of its nice deep water port and its link with the Hudson River, New York City is going to be able to grow really quickly during the late 1600s and the 1700s. New York City is going to become the second largest city in the colonies after Philadelphia. Now, Philadelphia was the #1 largest city in the colonies. Okay, the biggest city was Philadelphia. Now, second is going to be your New York City one here, and you can kind of see the skyline down below. Now, merchants in New York were quite prosperous. That means they were very wealthy. And when we're talking about merchants, we're talking about people who sell things. And they're going to be very wealthy in this area during this time period. Some of the products and crops that are going to come from our middle colonies are going to consist of cattle, fish, furs, iron. There are pigs, there's sheep, there's lumber, there's wheat. There's a lot of different things here, and really you need to focus on agriculture. Remember, agriculture is another word for farming, so a lot of that's going to have to do with that. So we have cattle, the pigs, the sheep. That's going to be pretty big, and wheat as well. Now, as for the government, once again, only white men that own land can vote. So if you're a woman, you're kind of out of luck. If you're a child, you're out of luck. If you're an African American, you're out of luck. Only white men that own land can vote. That's going to be consistent through just about all of our colonies. Now, a gentleman named Penn is going to be the writer for the government. Now, he's going to write the frame of government. This is a legislature called the General Assembly. This gives citizens the freedom of speech, freedom of religion, and then the right to a fair trial by jury. This is going to be where we get our Bill of Rights. So this is going to be our first step towards our Constitution and eventually our Declaration of Independence from England. We're creating our own laws here in America. So no longer were they focused and worried about the king's laws or the king's rules. Now they're developing their own. Okay, and they're doing that through the frame of government, and William Penn is going to be the gentleman who's writing this. Now, the frame of government here. Penn's going to state that any government is free to the people under it where the laws rule and the people are a party to those laws. Secondly, he also says, though good laws do well, good men do better, for good laws may want good men and be abolished or evaded. Throughout the frame of government, Penn basically expressed his beliefs for Pennsylvania, and these were his beliefs. He believed in religious toleration. So we have the word tolerant this week for spelling, and that's going to be another form of this word toleration here. Okay? Religious toleration means that you accept everyone, even if they believe in different things. This is huge because in England, they did not have this kind of treatment. In England, they were not tolerated if they believed in something else. So here in the middle colonies, they were very accepting of others, and they were very accepting of other religions, really. Limited government power. So this is another belief that William Penn had. He believed that the government shouldn't hold all the power. The people should hold the power. People should have a say in what they believe in. Okay. And then the third thing he really believed in was equality among all, which is kind of ironic because only white free men who own land could vote, yet he believed that everyone should be equal. So that part's a little bit ironic, I believe. Now, going back a little bit to William Penn here. He believed in three main things, and these are three main things that you really want to focus on. In the frame of government, he allowed the freedom of speech. He allowed the freedom of religion, and he allowed the right to a fair trial. This is really important because these are still rights that we hold today in our Bill of Rights. Okay, so that's something that hasn't gone away over time. That's something really important. Our middle colonies during the Revolutionary War are going to be essential for progress and growth. And really, if it wasn't for the middle colonies, I don't know if we would have been able to break free the way that we have into the country that we've become. So a lot of really big players are going to be coming from the middle colonies here. Okay, people like Ben Franklin, people like Thomas Jefferson. So these are all going to be coming from this area. Okay. At this time, please make sure that you've answered all parts of your notes. Please make sure as well that you have appropriately answered all questions for your Ed puzzle. What you're going to be doing next is you're going to go ahead and make sure these notes find their way into your binder under social studies. And you're going to go ahead and take your newsomatic, which can be found on the green table. Okay, you're going to complete your newsomatic. You're going to turn it into tray 2 when you're finished with it. After you've completed your newsomatic and you've completed these notes, you may silent read until the end of the class period. Okay, see you guys tomorrow, hopefully.